Hey guys, we have no breaking news in the David case, and this is actually really disturbing. The people that know the most information are being made to sign NDAs, so they cannot share any of the information with the public. Now, I know what you're thinking. First thing I thought when I heard it, okay, so the police are making people sign NDAs. That's weird. But according to Justice for Celeste, they've been the biggest proponent for Justice for Celeste on Reddit. They have bought us and that whole Reddit thread. Every piece of information you see on TikTok, you see on YouTube, ever. They have been boots on the ground, okay? They have made some very shocking, disturbing allegations. And it's not against the police. It's against a man who many of us thought we're actually investigating and pushing for justice for Celeste. Let's get into it, because if this is true, somebody has a lot to explain and do. But at the end of the day, that means they were interfering with an official investigation. And it means that little kids as young as Celeste is now were being bullied into keeping information so it could be used to make a profit off of it. All right, let's get into this. Okay, so the exact post says, I'm being harassed by these Discord users that are in contact with Steven Fischer. If you don't know who Steven Fischer is, he is the person, the private eye, that was, so Steven Fischer was hired. Let me just get to the point. Steven Fischer was hired by, he was covering the case already, and apparently he covers a lot of true crime cases. Now, there are a lot of people that are critical of him. He's been in battles with TMZ. However, he was actually hired by the owner of the house that David lives in. Remember that guy? He's rich. Imagine having that much money that you're just like, I want to know what's happening with Celeste. He was hired by that the homeowner, and Steven Fischer started putting a lot of information out. He was the person that said that they found tools, farm tools that could do horrible things in the house. He found a bunch of other stuff. Interestingly enough, at one time when I did kind of be like, what's going on, is he tried to hold Celeste's cousin accountable, who was also a minor, for why was she missing? How come you didn't do anything, care to say anything? And it was really, really odd, because it's like he missed the whole emotional connection that clearly the family knew that the cousin wasn't talked with her. She was a runaway. The police couldn't bring her home. She was estranged. The cousin was the last link that that girl had to the outside world. And I do think that if the cousin, first of all, the cousin was a minor, she couldn't take Celeste off of the national missing children's list. Second of all, Celeste was never returned home. So why would she be under the off the missing children's list? But more importantly, I believe that when Celeste ceased all communication with that cousin, after months passed, the cousin and the family rang the alarm, because even though they had very sporadic contact with Celeste, they still had contact with Celeste. And I don't think David knew about that. And when it completely cut off, that's when they got scared. So that's Steven Fischer. She said, I'm being harassed by these Discord users that are in contact with Steven Fischer, and they gave him my name to scare me. So listen to this post. Steven Fischer has been talking to several Discord users who go by Waymina, Wambulance, Pickles, and the David mod Sophia. I tried to help a friend get in contact with Steven, and it blew up into an argument. They accused me of breaking their trust, and one of them, Waymina, even claimed I ruined their chance of signing an NDA with Steven Fischer. Now they're on a subreddit arguing with people about Steven Fischer and constantly bringing my name up. They need to stop harassing me and stop mentioning me in their conversations that have nothing to do with me. I don't care, just leave me alone. I've been dealing with my own mental health in silence, and I don't have time for this mess. Y'all were the ones saying you wanted to be tied to the case. I only got involved because I thought that what we were sharing was actually being passed to the LAPD. I'm not working for anyone, and I don't want to be involved. Now, pause right here. We're going to get into it. However, these kids and everybody involved as a kid was eager to sign an NDA with Steven Fischer because they thought it was tying them to the case somehow. However, Steven Fischer is not working with the LAPD. We know he's not working with TMZ. He was basically, it seems like, if these can be true, believed to be true, getting kids to sign NDAs so all the information could flow through him and then he would release it to the public. Again, the LAPD said they are not working at all with Steven Fischer. Now, we can argue the ethics of that. You can say he's a private investigator, but at this point, he is a private individual. And at this point, whenever information has been released to the general public, the TikTok detectives, the Reddit detectives, the people in Lake Elsinore, where Celeste grew up, they have been connecting the dots. So you can't make an argument that if you are holding information back, to what end? Do you see what I'm saying? Again, I'm sure Steven Fischer says he has his reasons, but if you're not working with the cops, why are you leading kids to believe that if they sign an NDA and they can be tied to the case and help get justice and be heroes? It's odd because, again, these are all little kids. They said that David Sophia also had issues with another mod, 𝐒𝐸𝐧𝐠. He clearly knew about Celeste, and she was collecting information against him, but she never shared any of that with the rest of you. All of this shows that Steven Fischer is unprofessional and willing to let random people online into situations, he knows nothing about, because he keeps doing that. I'm now dealing with harassment from people connected to him. One of them even bragged about having more information because they're in contact with them. I want to be left alone. I'll share their accounts in a screenshot. One of them posted publicly on Reddit comment section, which proves they've been trying to get an NDA with this man. I'm doing this to end the drama and finally be left alone. So Impressive Soil jumps in and says, this is not the first time this has been alleged. I've been contacted by someone else from inside the chat. Feel free to DM me. Interest Unique said, I do not like this guy. He's effing weird as F. Kendra popped in and said, same. At first I was like, why is everyone saying he's a clout chaser? And I even tried to look up weird things he's done, but really couldn't find any. Now with his posting memes and this, I understand why people were cautious of this. None of this is funny or something to gloat about. A 14-year-old girl was groomed, more than likely killed, dismembered, and frozen, and thawed in a Tesla. He's really on the internet looking for clout and getting involved in petty drama. It is disgusting. Now, I will say a lot of people were very upset at the fact that Stephen Miller seemed to be focusing on Celeste and her family and blaming her on why, instead of focusing on David, focusing on his life, focusing on his friend group, focusing on the known people in his circle that Justice for Celeste and all these Celeste subreddits, which are power to the people have identified as knowing and being around and helping and fostering. Why not that? Why are you focusing on not just that girl's family, but her 17-year-old cousin, who is a minor, who was probably still grieving and sad that her favorite little cousin, or a little cousin she was very close to, was tragically murked? Interest Unique jumped back in and says, agreed. And people saying that he's posting memes to get more attention in this case are insane. The case already has so much more attention. So people are saying, no, he's just trying to shine a spotlight on this. He's doing the Lord's work. She said, that's insane. The case already has so much attention. And there's so many content creators who cover similar cases that do not use insensitive means in order to gain traction. What he's doing is gross and incredibly unprofessional. He needs to be deplatformed. Nobody needs to be working with them. Again, they said, one, he rubs it. So Anna B said, this dude always rubbed me the wrong way. You could also present this evidence to the LAPD, as I'm thinking that Steve has been advised to stop interfering with the investigation. Again, this is very important because remember, it's been said that there's been a gag order placed on Steve. Steven Fischer. My question was, why would they place a gag order on Steven Fischer? Is it because they're about to make an arrest and they don't want him to leak information? Or is it because they feel like he has been interfering with the investigation, throwing red herrings out, and the family also, and when I say family, I mean the minors in the family have been complaining that he is pointing the fingers at them. Again, minors are minors. And they are what they are. And everybody, I would assume, that had regular contact with Celeste loved her. And again, why weren't they? And again, since he cared so much, why was he not focusing on David and David's crew? You know, because David and David's crew are all adults. David and David's crew knew what to say, right? David and David's crew have money and access, and they're grown people to sue. But the people that Steven Fischer was focusing on were minors that were largely from poor backgrounds. Just something to think about. So anyway, Additional Cook said, thank you for sharing this. It's honestly extremely weird and unprofessional for an investigator to be involving himself in drama and also giving information to randoms on Discords. That's concerning. Creating a posse of people to attack those who don't like him is not normal, and it's a red flag. Nobody should trust this man if it wasn't clear already. These guys are now harassing OP in DMs, sending photos of their face trying to bully OP. This yikes that an investigator trusts these people. All right. Again, there's a lot of things going on. Illy Lily from Philly said, if this is true, and I think she speaks for all of us, if this is true, this is wild. It seems like the Steven Fischer dude is getting these kids in Discord chats to sign NDAs to legally bind them to only share Celeste evidence with him only, under the guise that he's sharing this directly with the LAPD. He's taking advantage of these kids. These kids need to be a part of the investigation of solving the murder. So these people are instead of letting the world know important information, these children, instead of letting the world know important information about the case with the public, Steven is getting them to agree to keep quiet so he can actually benefit and profit from this. You guys, again, these claims are actually wild. Steven Fischer has not responded to it. However, I do want to say that the Redditors, the children under 18, the Celeste, they have been doing the work, and the Redditors over 18. But this case started and is being solved brick by brick on Reddit. Even the LAPD is running to catch up, but it looks like they're about to make arrests imminent. You guys, let me know what you think in the comments. If this is true, but it does bring into mind, why was there a gag order placed on Steven Fischer? And why did the LAPD tell him allegedly to stand down? Steven, I guess because it's a gag order, he can't respond to it. But again, criticism in where the focus of his investigation took him, not to the adults that have money and power and attorneys and David's crew, but over to Celeste's little cousin and Celeste's family that doesn't have the thing to defend themselves, and all Celeste's little friends, and then giving people and kids, making them sign NDAs, but he's not working with the LAPD and not sharing info with the LAPD. It's interesting, but it's also very, very odd. Anyway, you guys, let me know what you think in the comments. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.